The restaurant was half empty when Marcus checked his watch for the third time. 7:45. She was 45 minutes late. The candle between the salt and pepper shakers had burned down to a stub, and the waiter had stopped asking if he wanted to order. Marcus stared at the untouched bread basket, feeling the familiar weight of disappointment settle in his chest like stones. This was it. The final blind date, the last attempt his sister would guilt him into. At 34, Marcus had grown comfortable with his solitude, with the predictable rhythm of his days managing the hardware store his father had left him. But Karen insisted he needed to put himself out. There. And he'd finally agreed. To meet her friend's cousin, a woman named Sarah, who apparently loved old movies and rescue dogs. They'd texted for 2 weeks, and her messages had made him laugh in ways he'd forgotten he could. Now, as the minutes ticked past, Marcus felt foolish for hoping. He pulled out his wallet, ready to leave cash for the bread and water he'd consumed when the door chimed. A little girl walked in. She couldn't have been more than 7, with dark braids tied with yellow ribbons and a dress that looked hastily buttoned. Her eyes scanned the restaurant with the determination of someone on a mission. When she spotted Marcus sitting alone by the window, she marched straight toward him, her light-up sneakers flashing with each step. "Are you Marcus?" she asked, slightly breathless. He blinked, caught off guard. Yes? My mommy's sorry she's late." The words tumbled out in a rush. "She's coming, I promise. She just had to—" The little girl paused, glancing back toward the door. "She's parking the car. She told me to run in and tell you she's really sorry and please don't leave." Marcus felt his irritation dissolve instantly. "Hey, it's okay. What's your name?" "Emma." She climbed into the chair across from him without invitation, settling in as if they were old friends. "You're the one who likes old movies, right? Mommy told me about you. I do like old movies." Marcus couldn't help but smile. "Does your mom like them too?" "She loves them. We watch them every Sunday. Last week we watched one about a little girl and a policeman in France." Emma wrinkled her nose, trying to remember. "The red balloon?" "Yes!" Emma's face lit up. It made Mommy cry, but she said it was the good kind of crying. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. He'd watched that film with his own mother years ago before she'd passed, before the world had started feeling quite so heavy. "Is your mom coming alone, or—" He wasn't sure how to ask if there was a father in the picture. Emma's expression grew serious. "It's just us. Daddy lives far away now." She said it matter-of-factly, without the heaviness of adult baggage. "But we're okay. Mommy works really hard." The door chimed again. A woman rushed in, her hair escaping from a ponytail, her coat buttoned wrong. She was flushed and disheveled, clutching a purse that looked ready to spill its contents. When she saw Emma at the table, relief and horror crossed her face simultaneously. "Emma, baby, you weren't supposed to—" She hurried over, then turned to Marcus with apologetic eyes. "I am so sorry. I know I'm late." And then she just bolted from the car. She stopped, taking a breath. "You must think I'm completely disorganized." Marcus stood, and for a moment, they just looked at each other. Sarah was beautiful in an exhausted, authentic way that made his chest ache. There were worry lines around her eyes, and her hands were trembling slightly, but her smile was genuine. "It's finer," he said. "Really, Emma told me you were coming." Sarah looked at her daughter with a mixture of exasperation and love. "Or did she?" "I'm sorry, I didn't mean for you to meet her tonight. The babysitter canceled at the last minute, and I couldn't find anyone else. And I almost called to reschedule, but I'd already canceled once last week when Emma had that fever, and I just thought—" She was talking too fast, the words spilling out. "I'm sorry. I'm doing this all wrong." "Mom, Tata." Emma tugged at Sarah's coat. "He's nice." "And he knows about the red balloon." Sarah finally sat down, Emma scooting her chair closer to her mother's. "You do? My mom and I used to watch it together," Marcus said quietly. "She passed away a few years ago. That film always reminds me of her Atakai. Something passed between them then, an understanding that needed no words." Sarah's eyes softened. "I'm sorry about your mother. I'm sorry you had a rough evening." The waiter appeared, and they ordered, Sarah insisting, Emma could have the chicken tenders she'd been promised for being brave today, which led to a story about Emma's school presentation on butterflies, which led to Marcus sharing about the butterfly garden. His mother had kept behind their house. Dinner became easy after that, natural. Emma colored on the kids' menu while the adults talked, occasionally interjecting with observations that made them both laugh. Sarah explained she was a nurse at the children's hospital, that she'd been held up by a family emergency with one of her longtime patients, a little boy fighting leukemia. She'd called the babysitter from the hospital, learned about the cancellation, and had exactly 12 minutes to decide whether to cancel on Marcus or bring Emma along. I almost didn't come, Sarah admitted, her fingers tracing the rim of her water glass. I thought you'd think I was a mess. Single mom. Can't even get childcare figured out. Showing up late with my daughter in tow. She laughed, but there was vulnerability in it. Not exactly the stuff of romantic first dates. I think, Marcus said carefully, that it's the most honest first date I've ever had. Emma looked up from her coloring. Is this going well? Are you going to be friends? Emma! Sarah's cheeks flushed pink. But Marcus laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. I hope so, Emma. I really hope so. As the evening wound down, Emma grew sleepy, resting her head on her mother's shoulder. Sarah stroked her daughter's hair absently, and Marcus was struck by the tenderness of the gesture, the fierce protectiveness in how she held her child. When they finally stood to leave, Marcus walked them to their car. The night was cool, stars barely visible above the city lights. I know this wasn't what you expected, Sarah said, Emma drowsy in her arms. No, Marcus agreed. It was better. Her eyes widened slightly. Better? I've been on a lot of first dates where people try to show the best version of themselves, he explained. Tonight, I got to see something real. You love your daughter. You care about your patients enough to stay late. You kept your word even when it would have been easier to bail. He paused. That means something. Sarah blinked rapidly, and Marcus realized she was fighting tears. Thank you, she whispered. You have no idea how much I needed to hear that tonight. As they drove away, Emma waving sleepily from the back seat, Marcus stood in the parking lot feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Hope, not the desperate. Grasping kind, but the gentle, patient kind that whispered of second dates and Sunday movies and the possibility that family could be built, not just born into. His phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Emma says you pass her test. Mine too. Same time next week? I promise to be on time. Probably. Marcus smiled at the screen, then looked up at the stars, suddenly more visible than they'd been moments before. His mother used to say that the best things in life came when you stopped trying to control every detail, when you opened yourself to the beautiful mess of being human. She would have liked Sarah and Emma, he thought. She would have loved how tonight had unfolded, imperfect, unexpected, and absolutely real. He typed back, Bring Emma, we can make it a movie night. Sometimes the best dates start empty. Sometimes they need a little girl to walk in and change everything.